lesson is on page 9. We're going to be doing pages 9 and 10. So as you flip to page 9, I'm going to try orienting the board again. And today we're focusing on those parts of an exponential function. So a standard form of an exponential function is y equals a times b to the x. The a is our y-intercept. Or we call that the initial amount, or initial value. It is where that function is going to start. So now your b is your multiplier. So if your b is greater than 1, that means that it's an exponential growth function, or the function is going to increase. Meaning the function will look like this. That means that we call b the growth factor. So to find out how much it's growing by, our rate of growth is to take that growth factor and subtract 1/2 from it. The general equation for an exponential decay looks exactly the same. The a is the y-intercept, or the initial value. So now b will not be greater than 1. B won't be negative either. B is going to be in between 0 and 1. So it's going to be a decimal less than 1, and it's going to decrease. So when we graph it, it's going to look like this. So it still looks like a curved line. It's just, instead of going up, it's going to be going down. This is what we call our decay factor. So the rate at which it's decaying. So to find that rate, we do a whole, 1, minus whatever our decay factor is. So now, we can just look at equations to know if they're exponential growth or decay. We could also plug these into the calculator to at least know if they're going up or down. But I really want to look at the equation and focus on that, because I know many of you do not have a calculator. So for the bottom, we're identifying the initial value, the growth or decay factor, and the growth or decay rate of the exponential function. And then you're going to do some on your own. So, number 1, y equals 3 times 1.8 to the x. So to know if it's a growth or decay, I'm looking at that b value. So my b is 1.8. So my b is greater than 1, because it's 1.8, so I know this is a growth. My initial value is what is in front, which is at 3, meaning my function has a y-intercept, or a starting value of 3. My growth factor we actually already found. What are we multiplying by? 1.8. So if I want to find that rate, that r, I'm going to do b minus 1. So 1 minus 8 is 1.8 minus 1 is 0.8. So my rate is 0.8. I could also turn this into a percent, which the regents will either do a decimal or a percent. To turn a decimal into a percent, 2 places to the right. So it'd be 80%. You're going to do one more together, and then you're going to do the next page on your own. Looking at the next one, to know if it's a growth or decay, I'm looking at the b. My b is 1.04. Greater than 1, so it's a growth. My initial value is what is in front. It does not matter that it's a decimal. 2.1. My growth or decay factor, what does that be? That be 1.04. Using the equation, 1.04 minus 1 is 0.04. Move it 2 places to the right. That's going to be 4%. Alright, on page 10, I want you to pause the video. I want you to answer the questions on page 10. It's doing the same exact thing before you check them with mine, please. Alright, looking at number 3. My B tells me if it's a growth or decay. My B is 0.8. So I know this is a decay because it's less than 1. My initial value, what I start with, is 9. Growth or decay factor is my B, which is 0.8. So now I do 1 minus 0.8, which is 0.2. Or, moving it 2 to the right, 20%. My B, 0.94. It's close to 1, but it is less than 1, so this is a decay. The initial value, what we start with is at 2. My growth or decay factor, that 0.94. 1 minus 0.94, 0.06. If I move it 2 places, 6%. Ooh, this one was tricky, because this one did not give you a piece. It only gave you 1. But we got to think about it. This is the number attached to X, so that's our B. So it's still a decay. My initial value, though, I don't see 1, and it can't be 0. Because if we multiply anything by 0, it is still 0. So I know I have to actually be multiplying by 1. Anything times 1 is itself. If you don't believe me, check your calculator. My growth or decay factor is my B, my 0.3. So 1 minus 0.3 is 0.7. Move it 2 places. 70%. 6. My B is 2. So this one is growth. It's been a while since we've done
Mr. Blanco,
growth.
please contact the main office.
My initial value, what's in front? That 3. My growth or decay factor is that 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So if I move 1, remember the decimal's at the end. If I move 1 2 places to the right, that's 100% growth. Well, the next one, it looked like it was trying to trick you, but guess what? They gave you the function, so it doesn't matter what they say. No matter what, this is what I'm using. So I see my B is 0.98. So this is a decay. My initial value, which is what is in front, 120. Growth or decay factor, I got that 0.98. So 1 minus 0.98, 0.02. 2 to the right, 2%. Same thing with number 8. Here's my equation. My B is 1.12. Growth. My initial value, 32,000. My growth or decay factor, that 1.12. Then lastly, 1.12 minus 1, 0.12. Move it 2 places, 12%. If you need to pause, otherwise you are going to be working on this one.